Morning. Hello, and welcome to this session for treasurers, covering the basics. Hello, I'm Ros. I'm the finance volunteer that helps with the year-end returns and happy to help with supporting groups throughout the year. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. A little bit of admin about this session. We will be recording it. I think they just record me, but if you're on, your voice is on, you'll be on that. I'm going to do a quick overview of what we're going to do, then I'll cover the training, and then we'll have a big session of questions at the end. If you but I appreciate you might have questions as we go along, and do feel free to put them in the chat, and Grace will interrupt and let me know. Otherwise there's no point you sitting there and not being sure about things as I'm going through the training. I'm going to go through and explain the basics that I think you need to cover. I'll show you where they are on the website because the website's changed and that's now moved, and I'll just show you what resources are available, because I see some of my questions that we haven't found all those ones where they are, and we've moved them, so apologies for that. If you knew where they were and you can't find them now, I'll show you. I'll also show some resources for running your accounts. I should say that Woodcraft, we are one charity, and so whilst there's a really flexibility, we do need to have the accounts in the same format at the year end, so we can put all 115 together in under the same headings. And as we are a charity, we need to comply with the Charity Commission requirements. So those we try to put as brief as possible in the Treasurer's Handbook, which I'll show you where that is. Otherwise, in terms of how you do accounts, yes, you need to come to the same headings at the year end. How you do the accounts is up to you. We know we have a whole range of districts with different numbers of bank accounts and groups in them. Some treasurers have set up their own systems, and if that's what you want to use, absolutely fine, as long as we produce the type at the end. But what I'm going to show you today is a suggested way of doing it. So if you are new to being a treasurer and you aren't quite sure where to start, then this might be for you. Or if you're a treasurer who inherited a system which you think might be taking maybe more complicated than it needs to be, you might want to change. Anyway, let me show you what you need. So I'm just going to share my screen and start by showing you where the resources are on the website. Okay, so here we've got the national website. If you go to this tab up here for support and advice, she says guidance for groups. Into group finances. So here we've tried to put in the information we think you might need. That's the Treasurer's Handbook. That covers an overview of what we need, and that's the sort of the minimum we need to get away with to comply with the Charity Commission requirement. So please take a look at that. We're going to go into this section here, keeping financial records, and in a minute. So just to say, in terms of managing your finances, I sort of think there's three things you need to have. You need to have a bank account in order to organise transactions, pay money in, take money out. You need to have a system for recording your transactions, what you've spent and what it's on, what headings. And you need to have a place to keep your hard copies or copies of supporting documents, so the invoices you've paid or whatever. So I suggest a file for that. So the first of those three things, I'm just going to show you bank accounts. We've got a reasonable amount of information on there. We do suggest that groups use bank with a unity trust, and it's all the information for opening and closing of bank accounts here. We did previously said the co-op, but they've started to charge, and Unity also charge. But some groups may not know that Co-op charge because they charge head office. But obviously it depends on what's close to you, but if you have a choice, the Co-op or Unity are good. If you get into trouble with your bank account, you forget your signatories or whatever, Woodcraft has a relationship with those accounts and can still access them. It's a lot harder if you go to a different bank and we have no relationship with them, then we can't help if you get stuck at all. So we'll just encourage that one. Okay. So that's the information about bank accounts. And if you need to close accounts, that's the information is there. Right, I'm now going to go into the keeping financial records area and show you what we've got there. So our guidance about keeping financial records is here. And as I said, the three things that we suggest you need are a bank account, keeping an income and expenditure record, and there's blanks here, but if you want one, and I'll show you how it works in a minute, please ask me and I'll set up one for your group. Then it's an online document, so you can access it, I can access it. If you get stuck at all, not quite sure why it's not balancing, you can contact me, we can look at it together and go through. Obviously, as I said, you don't have to use it, you can use your own system, but if you want to, it's there, and just ask me. And then there's more guidance about using it in some supporting documents that you might, or reference you might want. Okay, let me just show you what an income and expenditure records look like. So it's this. So you set out one for your group. It's got the name of your group, the balance at the start of the year, and then it updates as it goes along. So this current balance gives you what your current balance should be, and if everything's going through your bank account, it also agrees with your bank account. So it's got date, description, and then these headings. So this is the income side, all the different headings that you might have. This is the expenditure side with all the expenditure headings, so rent, admin, insurance, or whatever. These are the same headings that appear on the finance return for the year. So if you've used this spreadsheet, then you can just take the totals from the bottom and use them to populate your finance return, and hopefully that should keep things fairly simple. So how it works is you have some income. So today, I've paid in some subs. And I'll put it under that heading. And hopefully this total will change. Take account of that. And maybe also I'm going to pay for some material, reimburse somebody for some materials. And again, the total will update. And if you put that on, that should agree with your bank account. So having paid for that materials invoice, the last thing you need to do is stick the supporting paperwork in your file. And then if you are audited, you've got a trail of your expenditure, and you've got supporting documents for any expenditure you've made. So I decided to go on to the third element of it. So this is an income and expenditure record. Just keep things as you go along. The last thing I would suggest, and go back to this one, is I think I'll put it up in here, is your folder in income and expenditure. Your financial record shoulder, I'll put it a bit in there. And I've suggested that you have a folder, and that electronic is fine. If bit old-fashioned to keep it in paper, but a way of keeping your supporting documents. So we've got a suggestion there of putting in different. So my one, I have the bank statements in here. I have copies of the income, any income I've received. So things about grants, expenditure, a section for correspondence with the bank, which is vital for remembering who the current signatories are. And also one for previous sets of accounts. So you've got those going backwards. So sorry, just come out of here. Oh, sorry, I should just say one thing. So, so that's, I've just showed you on here about keeping accounts, the bank account. Some groups like to have cash as well. It makes things slightly more complicated, but not too much. You do need a cash tin. If you have cash, then you need to record it exactly the same way. So if you do, you'll get a spreadsheet. Ask me and I'll give you a spreadsheet that's got the cash out, these headings as well. Exactly the same columns in here, because you need to record your cash exactly the same way, what it's come in, what it's gone out, exactly the same headings as bank ones. But do it quickly, because otherwise you forget what's come in for. And again, as you add things, it will change your current balance. But instead of getting a nice printed off bank statement at the end of the month, you need to check that the money in your tin is the same as the money that you theoretically got. And it is harder because you don't get a trail on a cash account. If you do have cash and you want to, you'll need to bank periodically. We've added in these cash transfer columns. So for example, if you decide you are going to pay in some cash, and you're going to reduce that balance by 50 quid by paying it into your bank account, you transfer it, it's expenditure from your petty cash account. It's income in your bank, in your bank account. You should have exactly the same cash transfers that go out of your petty cash than into your cash account. And you'll increase your balance on your bank account and decrease it on your petty cash account. Okay, so that's just remember to write down the cash, otherwise that's when things go wrong. So let me stop sharing. So I think those are the main things I really wanted to get across today. So if, as a way of keeping your accounts, the minimum you need is your bank account, an income expenditure record or whatever, and a highly technical folder to stick your paperwork in. If you want to have cash, have a cash tin and keep it in there and check it. If you keep on top of it, write things up as you go along, stick the paperwork away, you don't lose it, and things will be mostly okay for the year. Do check them. We are going to have another session, another training session, which will be reconciling your bank account, which is a really useful way of making sure you're on track, and a few other handy hints, but the basics I think we've covered today. Okay, any questions?